Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today as we get a chance just to celebrate and remember Lynn and how special she was to all of us. I have a special honor today getting to um, officiate her memorial. She's a special lady to me, and I was so blessed to have her as a mother-in-law. And I just wanted to this afternoon just take a moment to clarify something because I think sometimes mother-in-law, if we're being honest, has a certain connotation to it. And there's maybe this implied idea that a good mother-in-law is one that you can just kind of tolerate. You're lucky, right, if your mother-in-law doesn't just drive you crazy and you can get along with her. I guess I just wanted it to be really clear that Lynn was not that kind of mother-in-law at all. She was actually an amazing, incredible mother-in-law, the kind of mother-in-law that we would play cards with, sometimes really late into the evenings, the kind that you could laugh with and the kind that you enjoyed being with, one that was fun to get to know and one that you wanted to be a part of your life. She was the kind of mother-in-law that really in me and encouraged me all the time. I think there's a good chance that she never thought I preached a boring or bad message ever. Almost, which is impossible. I definitely have. Almost every Sunday, by the time I would get home, I'd have a text from Lynn telling me what an amazing job I did, how great my message was, what an amazing pastor I was, and that's just so special. I'm going to miss those. She was the kind of mother-in-law that was really, honestly, kind of whatever it was I did for her. Whether it was yard work or painting or what she really kind of put me to work at these last few years, which was being her IT guy. And if any of you know me, you know I'm not an IT guy. So basically, all that really entailed was just going over to reteach her something I'd already taught her on her iPhone, usually close out the hundreds of tabs that she would have open on her phones a bit quicker, or maybe reconnect her printer that seemed to always come off network somehow. But it didn't matter what it was. If it was that simple, she thought I was a tech genius. It was pretty funny. She was the kind of mother-in-law who could keep up with me at Disneyland, which is no small feat. Most of my own family can't do that, and I will run them ragged. And I remember we had the opportunity to go there with Jim and Lynn. And Lynn she was running everybody into the ground. There wasn't a ride she wouldn't go on. She went on that dumb little kid roller coaster like 200 times with Luther. It was amazing. She was the kind of mother-in-law that just loved being together. She didn't usually have some sort of crazy, wild agenda or wanted to impose her desire. She just wanted to be together as family. And she was the kind of mother-in-law that was kind and funny and thoughtful. And as I was getting ready for this today and this week, I'm just struck by the fact that she was the kind of mother-in-law that most people don't even know exists and come along once in a lifetime. And I'm very thankful that I got to have her for my mother-in-law. It was a privilege and an honor. And again, like I said, I'm very just thankful that she was a part of my life and that we get to do this. Today, I'm actually going to ask Jim to come up, and he wants to share just a few words today, or more than a few words, maybe. hmm
First of all, thank you again for everybody that's here, and especially all the people in the music and behind the scenes. And this is a special time. It's closure for us as a family, and especially me as a husband. There's something you're going to witness today. You're going to witness God's love, His sincerity, His caring for us as people. And then you're going to hear about a miracle that took place. That's a lot to grasp. But a little bit about Lynne to start with. She had a Catholic upbringing, K-12 or 112. She came from a family of 8 with 2 sisters. She was the oldest sister. She had 3 years of higher education, 74 years of life experiences, 54 years of marriage. We would have still been going on. She loved math challenges, and that brought her to kind of a destiny for herself. She went to work for Old National Bank, where she became a teller, worked there 5 or 6 years, and then went to a small stockbroking office in the Old National Bank, where she had to go to Seattle and license, which deals with securities, all the do's and don'ts of all that kind of good stuff. She volunteered to help children learn to read in the Central Valley School District. Now, a little more about us. In 1965, the year of the Mustang, I met her in July of 65 when I came home from the service in the Navy. We were married 9 months later. Pretty fast courtship, huh? Today's standards. We were married at St. John Vianney, a small Catholic church in the Spokane Valley. Lynne gave birth to 2 wonderful children, Brian and Mary. She went to serve the people of Africa for a 3-week mission trip. We went to Ground Zero in New York during 9/11 to help the people. Her days really were filled with joy, anticipation of being with family, church family, grandkids for sure, watching athletic events, going to birthday parties, having pool parties. She went to many sporting events. She made many special dinners for different occasions, camping trips, Priest Lake, car trips everywhere. Brian took her on small, short trips towards the end of her days here that was really rewarding for her. We went to Sasheen Lake a lot. My brother would volunteer his cabin. We went to Kootenai Lake in British Columbia and floated in a houseboat for a number of days. We took a trip to Australia for Thurgy and Kylie. We took a trip to London and Italy with our card playing friends. She read her Bible almost daily. She worshiped. She loved to listen to worship songs and prayed a lot. She was a prayer warrior for the needs of people, events, injustices, people, and marriages. We taught marriage classes to make ours stronger. We learned what it was to have a godly marriage. Now she's faced with a transition, a life transition. She was told that she has cancer. What do you do at that moment? She accepted it, but she had fear and intimidation. Hence, reason for a miracle. Every time she would see the doctors or nurses that Mary can attest to, she would tell them all, I will be healed. Everyone. And grew the candy hard in her stomach. And she knew, well, maybe that miracle is not going to happen the way she thought. But she needed another miracle. And that miracle was to get to heaven and a free spirit, God's way to get to heaven. Hence, here comes the miracle. And all the people that are here, the people that have talked with her, sent her cards, sent us meals, walked with her. Hopefully she didn't, you're on a mission. She used to do that to me all the time. So that miracle was 11 months from the time she was told to be able to get closure with family and friends, go to cards. And in those times, I saw a drastic change in her, and it was positive. She was losing strength, but she was gaining energy. Different way. Her spirit was being changed. I truly believe everything that you did, when you did it, how you were used by God, changed her life and entry into heaven. So again, I want to thank all of you and what you did in this church body and friends. I'd like to show you one other thing. I'm finding all kinds of things as I start to clean up. She was a clean person, I thought, but I found this. And it says, Jesus, I surrender my life to you. Take care of everything. I found this upside down in a plastic box by her chair. And with that, she had She had her own book, Mom's Hope, Healing Verses. And I picked out two that struck home. Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, in prayer and supplication, thanks to God in all. Again, the card. Jesus, I surrender my life to you. Take care of everything. And the last one, Psalm 22, verse 19. But you, Lord, don't be far from me, my strength. Come quickly to help me. And all those months where that quickness made it all happen. So thank you all for the miracle that you've given our family. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Today, Lynne loves to worship, and I think she missed getting together as a church to worship maybe more than anybody. Pretty much every week she'd ask me, "Are we going to have church yet?" And we thought today we just couldn't pass up an opportunity to sing some of her favorite songs and worship together. Lynne also loved when our young people were a part of and helping with worship. She just thought that was one of the neatest things. So we have some of our awesome young help lead us in a couple songs. And you can just join in with us or sit there and let the Spirit that Lynne came to know so well just wash over you. And we'll take time to do that at a couple different points today.
Shadows of his your great grace is there in the mountain top, there in the everyday and the mundane, there in the sorrow and dancing grace. Oh, such creation to the cross, and from the cross into eternity, your grace finds me. Yes, your grace finds me. There on a wedding there in the weeping by the graveside, there in the very breath we breathe, your grace. Sing for the rich and sing for for the pain and for the sorrow. For the slow ride, your grace, your such light in the darkest night of the storm. In the sweetest sounds of victory, your grace defines me. Yes, your grace defines me. Your great grace, your such grace, your great grace, your such grace. So I'm breathing in your grace, and I'm breathing out your grace. In your grace, forever I'll be breathing in your grace, and I'm breathing out your grace. Breathing in your grace, forever I'll be breathing in your grace. From the creation to the cross, into eternity, your grace finds me. Yes, your grace finds me.
As Jim mentioned, Lynn loved her grandkid. I imagine, like most grandmas, there was nothing that they could ever do that was wrong, no matter how wrong they did. It was amazing. She truly thought they were the most wonderful grandkids in the world. And today, JL's going to share a little bit.
Hi guys, thank you for being here. Okay. My grandma always made me feel in the world. Like honestly, she made me feel like the most loved and most talented and most amazing celebrity to ever exist. It started with diving tricks in the pool. Luther and I would spend hours taking turns jumping off the diving board and twisting our body into really unnatural shapes. And even if it was a belly flop, Grandma would award us a 10 out of 10. She made me feel special. And sometimes it felt like all I had to do was breathe, and Grandma would look at me with wonder and adoration, and my heart would feel full. As I got older, my art made me feel on top of the world with. Anything I did, even just a scribble of crayons on printer paper, she loved. She would always talk to me about how I needed to sell my art and how she couldn't wait to see me become a famous artist one day. In fact, early this year, when we were aware of the fact that she was losing her battle with cancer soon, I asked her how she felt about dying. And she tearily said that she was distraught that she wouldn't be able to see more of my art and watch me win awards for it. And she held my hand and told me how talented I was and that I had a gift from God that she was sad to miss me pursuing. I loved being able to go to her house and see my art all over the place in different special frames. And her mantle above the fireplace held a lot of cards from all of you guys. And often she would have ones I made her that just had simple calligraphy, but she would treasure it like it was a valuable piece of art. I remember doing art in the Valley House, and I remember doing art at our house, and I was always excited to show her every time. And even when I was in college last year, I was excited to show Grandma the new inspirations I painted because I knew that she would rave about them and say, "Full, and you're so talented." Another thing that Dad already talked about that she was impressed by was my technology skills. Now, Grandma doesn't know this, but I really know nothing about technology. She just knew a whole lot less. When I pressed the on button to your guys' printer, or turned on her Bluetooth so her headphones would connect, or switched the input on the TV so she could watch a movie, or pressed a couple buttons on the microwave so it showed the correct time, she was beyond amazed. And I thought it was funny, but I never wanted to act like it was the easiest task action every time. Her eyes would brighten up with wonder and her mouth would open in amazement. And sometimes she would clap and she would always praise me for being so smart and so amazing and so talented. She always saw me as the most amazing person in the world, and I always felt special when I was around her. I'll miss that a lot. I'll miss being able to show off my ridiculously mundane skills and be treated like I just invented life itself. Further than just making me feel so very special for little things, Grandma always encouraged me to push myself and challenge myself. She was always so excited to hear about how my work was going, how school was going, how art was going, anything and everything. She encouraged me to push myself in school, to get a job where I'd be happy, and to learn new things. On that note, I want to talk about a new thing I learned to do with her and my mom that I will forever be really passionate about. This started in quarantine, and at that same time, we knew that Grandma was going to be leaving us soon. I randomly got really into indoor plants, which you all probably know that Grandma loved to plant indoors and outdoors. I can't remember what plant that I started with, but the most meaningful one to me was the pothos plant. In Grandma and Grandpa's house, Grandma has two enormous pothos, beautiful and trailing and luscious, and she's actually kept them alive for over 40 years. She moved them from house to house and treated them with the utmost care and gentleness so that they would stay thriving. And I was always entranced with them. There was just something about them that filled my heart with wonder and a desire to care for something so deeply that it radiated health for 40 plus years like Grandma's did. It was a beautiful metaphor to me of who Grandma Lynne was. She poured love into those plants and it shows. She did it for over 40 years and she always had the gentlest touch when watering or pruning them. And I felt like this was the same with love and gentleness, care and encouragement, and a deep passion for me to grow. I remember timidly asking her when she was very sick if she'd be willing to cut part of one and propagate it for me and that we could plant it together. I didn't know if she'd want to cut her 40-year-old prized plants, but she was so overjoyed to do it. She got up right away and put some clipping in the water for me, and then we talked for a long time about how excited she was for me to develop a green thumb like her and Mom to experience the same joy in houseplants as they do. In my mind, I wanted to have that living, breathing piece of Grandma, and I wanted to nurture it for the next 40 years and the next 40 years. And it was a physical representation for me of her living on in a beautiful way with me forever and ever. It took us a couple tries to get the pothos to grow as I was still learning and didn't quite have the delicate, gentle, loving green thumb that she did. And she ended up being out shopping and saw the same plant thriving with some new growth on it. So she bought it for me with so much excitement, and we planted 2 of them. I took them home, and those ones thrived. Like, they got so big, so fast, and so long and beautiful and healthy. And I ended up planting one big pot, and it sat on a coffee table in front of the window at my parents' house while I was there this summer. I would get up every morning and make some coffee and sit by it while I drank it and admired the new growth because there was always new leaves growing on it. I would get so excited when new leaves popped up because that meant Grandma's spirit was growing and I had done it. I had successfully nurtured the pothos plant like she had, and I knew she would be proud. And she was. She loved seeing the pictures of how much it had grown every week when I saw her. When we first planted them, each plant had about 4 leaves each, so about 8 leaves. And I just counted this morning while I was writing this, and our plant now has 53 beautiful leaves with 5 new ones about to unroll and grow into something even bigger. Now it sits right by my bed, and I see it when I go to sleep and when I wake up, and in the background from my desk when I do my homework. And I love it. Because of that inspiration for indoor plants that Grandma fostered in me, I also currently have 15 other plants in my room that I love deeply. She would be so proud of me and my green thumb. The last thing I wanted to talk about today at her house a couple weeks ago. She was weak and tired and sick, but she was still very excited to see me, and I felt that love and care and specialness that I always did. I looked up from the couch at her beautiful, huge 40-year-old pothos and saw a tiny little baby pothos right above them with about 3 leaves sticking straight up in the air in a tiny pot. I asked her about it, and she said, "Oh, honey, that's our plant. That's your leaves." And I was confused. I said, "Grandma, do you mean the one we propagated months ago and didn't take?" And she said, "Yes." She had actually kept that same tiny 5 months ago and hadn't taken to the soil or the pot or my touch multiple times, and she kept it alive. She didn't give up hope that it would eventually sprout and grow, and she nurtured it the whole time that I had moved on to the thriving plant, and I had no idea. And now it's a deep green, standing straight up, so happy and healthy and reaching towards the sun. All from her resilience to fight for the clipping to grow eventually. She always had hope that it would take root and to grow into something beautiful and happy for me. That means so much to me, and I can't wait to watch our plants grow every day and show that her spirit is still growing with me, constantly reminding me of how special I am to her. And I will miss you deeply.
I love you, Lord. Your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment to lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. And every breath that I am able, I will sing this God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. Known you as a father, I've known you as a friend. I have in the goodness. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I will sing of the goodness. Your goodness is running out. It's running out of me. Your goodness is running out. It's running out. after me. My life laid down, surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running out, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Thank you, worship team. That was awesome. So special. My wife Mary is going to share about her mom, and I just wanted to, as she gets ready to share, just recognize what a special bond that they've always had, but just especially in this last season, just what a special way that she was able to care for Lynne and be there for Lynne, from just daily check-ins to doctor visits to random their head whenever they popped into their head. It was awesome to watch their relationship continue to grow and be so special. And I know we've talked a lot of times just how thankful we are that we got these last few months to do so many fun things and have so many good talks. But I just wanted to recognize what an amazing daughter she's been, and all the amazing ways that she's cared for her, always, but specifically in this last season. So come on up.
That was so sweet. Thank you. My mom, she was kind, she was generous, she was loving, encouraging. She was a faithful wife, mom, sister, and friend. She was my mom for 47 years. And I'm pretty sure you guys probably don't want me to go over every memory I have from the last 47 years. So I thought I'd narrow it down a little bit to this last 11 months of our life during her sickness, and like a special bond and a special time. Mom was very courageous. Upon her terminal diagnosis, her oncologist suggested that we focus on making special memories, and that we did. There were countless doctor's appointments, many, many walks at city parks, taking pictures of people's plants that we liked when we drove by them or walked by them. The fun summer days that we had at the lake with Uncle Mike that I so greatly cherish. At the end of each experience, my mom would say in her sweet, "We're making special memories." And we did make a lot of special memories. And I will cherish those. Gosh, I can't even. This summer, my mom and my dad and my brother and I went back out to grow up. My parents lived there for 43 years. We went to a restaurant that we used to eat at as a family quite often. We drove around to our old house and grade school and grandma's house and all these different things. My brother and I began to reminisce about how mom so wanted us to be healthy, and her solution to that was the most god-awful, nasty drinks or supplements, or was mortified. She had no idea that we thought they were so horrible. And both Brian and I are like, oh, I can still taste it. On that trip, I took the opportunity to tell my mom about a few of the naughty things I did growing up that she didn't know about. There's plenty of naughty things that I did that she did know about. There were a few that she didn't, and she was mortified, and I cherish that memory, actually. The care that my mom received from Dr. Gross and a nurse Mary, and the psychological oncology was exceptional, compassionate, and honest. Dr. Thatcher and Nurse Christie at Cancer Care Northwest, they were so full of kindness, but so full of energy and hope too. Her primary care physician, Dr. Stevens, who originally diagnosed her with endometrial cancer, spent time with us explaining things in a way that was easy to understand, yet it was so full of kindness and empathy. I cannot thank the staff at hospice, both for her at Hospice House. They were so gracious and caring and brought so much dignity to the dying process that I'm so grateful for that. Through some of her life, she struggled with depression and anxiety. And through her illness, so many of you, from her friends, from the CART group, to old friends that were rediscovered, to her faith community, to her family, just loved her and cared for her in a way that was so special. And I just want you to know there was my mom expressed after being with all, like, I can't believe how much I'm loved and cared for. And so it's like what my dad was saying, like, that was a miracle of life in her, that I feel so grateful for. So thank you to our many friends and family and loved ones that let her know how loved and appreciated she was. In closing, my mom was a Jesus follower and full of joy now that she is in heaven with him. She doesn't have a broken body anymore. There's just peace and joy. I think of our bodies as a vehicle that we're given while we're here on earth. Mom's vehicle was very, very broken at the end, and she was in a lot of pain, and she faced that courageously. But Mom's body isn't who she was. Mom was her personality and her spirit and the person that we know. And I believe that she's alive and happy and content and with her Savior. I'm really sad that she's not here with us anymore, but I'm so very grateful. A dear friend of mine called me shortly before we moved Mom into Hospice House and just said, Mary, I don't want you to have any regrets. No regrets. I don't have any regrets about the 11 months that we spent building special memories. I do wish I could hold her hand again and hug her or kiss her or, gosh, even take her to an oncology appointment. But I cannot, so I will cherish the memories. In the past months, Mom and I drove around to the house that we moved from when I was 3, to my great-grandma's house, to the house my parents lived in for 43 years, to our child home, and countless other places. I had a tendency to make up words or statements or things when I was young. We remembered that when I was young, that we loved each other as chunk as a church. And that I always used to say, Mom, because we love each other. I love you, my cheether, forever. and look forward to eternity with you.
Was grace that taught to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious that grace appeared. Yeah, I first believed. We've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to see God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. But now I see.
Today, as we get ready to be dismissed, I just want to again thank all of you that are here. I know it's been said already, but you are all so special to Lynn. Such a part of the courage and strength that she found to keep making memories and face what was next for her. I want to thank those that are joining us through live stream that couldn't be here, her church family. You all were amazing, just loving her in so many special ways in this season. And I thought it would today, praying together, praying for the family, just to feel God's hand in this season. We know that Lynn's in a wonderful place that doesn't need our prayers anymore. But we still need prayers here as we're dealing with loss and processing that. So, Father, I thank you so much just for who Lynn was. And I know she'll, in so many different ways, to so many different people, And just some of those people are represented here today, and we're so grateful that we get to do this and be together and remember and celebrate Lynne. That I ask today as friends and family and loved ones are left with the loss that we feel from her being gone, that you would just minister to help us remember all the good times and the funny things that we laughed about with Lynne and the fun things that we got to do with her. If we feel alone, remind us that you're with us and that the same love that Lynne was living in and experiencing and expressing still flows today for all of us. We thank you so much for your amazing grace. And part of what's so amazing about it is that it's just what each of us needs for wherever we're at. It's a miracle that way. I just ask that we would feel that and sense that grace for wherever we're at today and in the days to come. And help us remember together and never forget just who Lynne was to us. We thank you for your grace. Amen. Thanks again for being here tonight. And we can't, under the conditions now, we can't do a reception or things like that, but we've put out some pictures and special things over there. If you haven't got a chance to see that, please do. And go ahead and stick around and talk with each other, remember together, laugh together, cry together. And again, just thank you so much for being here. You can be dismissed.